April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and a big event in our country, including here in Sylacauga, next Tuesday. And joining us this morning is Ollie Cates. Ollie is the case manager and of the Fatherhood Program, and some 17 years he's been with SAFE. And Ollie, time flies when you're having fun, don't it, buddy?
I'll tell you, it flies, flies, flies.
Yeah. Talk about, first of all, and it's heart-wrenching to all of us, what is child abuse? What is considered child abuse?
Well, in short, Jimmy Dale, it's harm or threatening harm to a child's normal development and to his health and to their welfare. It's just harming them mentally and physically.
In Talladega County, is that a real problem?
Oh, yes. Just the other day, I contacted the Department of Human Resources just to get some stats, just to see how we were doing with years past and how we're doing this year. Well, believe it or not, years past has been high, and it is still high even today.
Oh, wow. Wow.
With all the reporting that we are doing and all the things we're putting out, it still exists right here in our county of Talladega.
How are we trying to raise the awareness of child abuse?
Well, nationwide, they're having programs nationwide on certain days in April. We here in Sylacauga, we're going to have one on the 10th, which is next Tuesday, at the City Hall flagpole. We're going to have an activity there. We're going to have a speaker there to talk about child abuse. It's a short program, and telling them that child abuse exists right here in our town, and we want to try to do something about it and let people know what they can do about it to help out.
Different types of child abuse, too.
Oh, yes. Physical, pinching, hitting, striking, choking children, punishing them inappropriately. There's one. Emotional, calling a child out of their name, just telling them that they're not going to amount to anything. That's that emotional, getting into their mentality there. There's sexual, inappropriate, exposing them to porno, exposing yourself to them, talking with them about those sexual activities. That's sexual. And then they have that neglect, not giving a child the basic needs they need: food, clothing, shelter. They need those kind of things to grow up, be healthy, and in a safe environment.
Ollie, to many of us, and those watching this morning, a lot of them, this is so foreign to us. We can't fathom in our minds how this can take place. But it happens so often. Why?
Well, I would say some reason is why, because maybe the parents are, I don't want to say, but they're probably using drugs and things like that, and they're not mentally thinking clearly in taking care of their kids. So it's going to happen in those kind of surroundings with the kids. And so that's the main reason perhaps it's happening, because the parents are not staying aware of taking care of their kids in an appropriate way. So it happens.
How can this start? What is some? Is there a tipping point or something, or how can these abuses start?
Well, you mean when it started? Like I said, the parents just not paying attention to their kids, or they have their own lives to live and things like that, and so they sort of forget what the kids need growing up. They're figuring, well, they're old enough to take care of themselves and things like that, so they just let it go, and kids just roam around, do things on their own, and not being protected by the parents themselves.
Could it be hereditary? Could it have happened to parents from their parents or grandparents?
It could, habit-wise, it could come up that way, that they were reared in that sense, and they look at it like, oh, there's nothing wrong. Look at me. I came out all right, so it's okay to do that to my kid, and perhaps they'll turn out also all right. So maybe that's why it's happening.
Child Abuse Prevention Month for the month of April, and you're invited to join us at the flagpole Tuesday, April 10th at 10 a.m. at City Hall in Sylacauga. Ollie Cates, case manager, joins us this morning, and the purpose of this month is public awareness, and we're not seemingly at a shortage of public awareness, but yet the problem it continues.
It continues. What are we doing? I think I was here a couple of years ago, a year before. We're there all the time. Each year we're doing this in April, letting people, we're trying to cause people to be aware that this month is April. April is Child Abuse Prevention, and what you can do as citizens helping to get rid of this tragic issue dealing with kids. And you can do a part too. You can play a part in this too by reporting it when you see it. Do that. And you can report it to DHR, to the police department. Just report it. And you can do it, and don't do it because you're trying to get back at someone. You're doing it because you have observed this child being abused. And that's what you want to try to prevent that child from being harmed and taking away their health and their welfare.
For people who say, well, Ollie, I don't want to get involved in this at all, but there are laws in Alabama with teeth in those laws pertaining to certain groups of people and individuals who must report.
They must. I mean, hospital, doctors, nurses, work centers, child businesses.
Ministers?
Ministers. They're required to do that. Now, even just plain citizens, you should. I mean, it's not by law that you do not have to, but you should. But there are certain professionals that need to do this and have to do it. It's by law, you have to do that.
Some telltale signs of abuse.
Observing a child normal habits of not doing what he normally used to do, showing bruises on his body or her body, things like that, or slurred talk sometimes, or being shy sometimes, those kind of things. In school, then they want to be alone. You get close to them or touch them, they'll jump and things like that. So those are some kind of clues sometimes that they are being abused.
We're seeing more and more of horrific stories of sexual abuse for children. Walk us through that, and what are some signs of a child that possibly being sexually abused?
Well, like I said, they don't want to be close to anyone. Mm-hmm. You get close to them and just brush up against them, they'll jump and things like that. So you got to be careful with that, or just when they notice something that's inappropriate sexual-wise, they'll sort of veer away or hump up or something to that effect, knowing that it's in their minds that it had happened to them, and they don't want to face it anymore just looking at it.
My father, when I was growing up, if he were doing that now, it would be considered child abuse. Things have really changed over the years as far as physical abuse is concerned.
Oh, yes. Well, when I grew up also, I'm from the country, and my dad didn't mind letting me know that there was something that he didn't like, and he would send me to the woods to get the switch and come back with it. But nowadays, you don't do that.
If it wasn't big enough, he'd send you back.
And get it 2 or 3 of them.
One of the most heart-wrenching forms of abuse is emotional abuse.
Getting into the minds of the child. I mean, you are taking away what they can develop to be, because you have put things in their minds that, well, it's just not working for them, and their mind and mentality is not just thinking straight because it has been affected in their mindset.
And they grow up with that, and that's what they know, and I guess they can teach their own children that same thing.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They went through it, they grow up with it, still in their minds. I'm fine with it, and so here they come with children. Like I said, I'm the fatherhood program. They come with children, and they're figuring, well, look at me. I turned out all right, so what's wrong with that? I want to raise my kid the way I want to. So it happens.
being a case manager, and you've been involved in this for some 17 years.
17 years.
We talk about the different types of child abuse. Do you see at times, Ollie, all four in one situation, or is it normally just one or two, or what?
Oh, no. There's multiple ways of doing it, and it happens in multiple to the child. It could happen abusing them, and also getting into their minds, physically touching them, those kind of things. It's going to happen to one child. Those things can happen to one child. But myself seeing it, no, I have not, because I'm going to report everything I see. I'm going to tell it. So I don't actually see it, because I'm going to report it when I see it.
Mm-hmm. Who's doing this to these children?
Who are doing? I mean,
mainly parents.
Mainly parents, their peers. That's their peers, friends, their relatives. Those are things that the closeness of that family. Those are the ones that perhaps could do that.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking, they're not going to tell. I'm their relative. They're not going to tell on me. So why not?
And I've seen stories where, Ollie, the perpetrator instructs a child not to tell anybody.
You better not.
Their secret.
You better not do that. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with this. What's wrong with us doing this? Mm-hmm. You don't need to mention this to anybody. This is between you and I. So don't do that. I'm your friend. Matter of fact, I'm your relative. You don't do that. We're doing okay. Let's keep doing what we're doing. It's okay. So there's nothing wrong with it. Let's keep doing this, okay?
Wow.
So,
Child Abuse Prevention Month for the month of April. Ollie Cates, case manager, with us this morning. And Ollie, the event's going to be on Tuesday, and we're going to be releasing balloons. And what you got here this morning?
Well, we're going to put out, like I said, next Tuesday, we're going to be at 10 o'clock out at the flagpole. We're going to put some of these pinwheels out. We're not going to put a lot, and we're going to put them out maybe that evening or that morning, and keep them out until we have our program. This represents the hopes and promise of every child deserves to have a healthy and safe environment to live in. This is what this is going to represent, and hopefully people passing by will notice this, and by my saying what I just said, hopefully it's going to come in their mindset. I've got to pay more attention to the kids around us and everything else. We're going to release balloons in honor of these children that has gone through this child abuse. We're going to release those. We're going to have a speaker from perhaps the DHR coming and talk with us about child abuse and neglect. We're going to do that at the flagpole.
Ollie, not to put you on the spot, you mentioned that you researched some numbers of child abuse in Talladega County. Can you share some of those?
Can I just share that? Yes, I have just a few. DHR sent me this the other day, and she gave me from 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 years back coming forward. And each year is high. Like they took 14, they took over 500 reports. 15 over 500 reports. 16 over 600 reports. 17 over 600. In 2018, right, this year, it's already 272 reports. With how many kids involved in 2018? Over 400 kids already involved in child abuse. Over 400. How many? January, February, March. Look what's happening.
3 months only into the year.
And look what's happening. We're trying to get this down. This number should be 0, but it's not. So we'll just keep causing people to be aware.
All these cases, when they're reported, are they investigated?
Not all cases. Some they're looked into, and they don't have to go through the full investigation of getting it done and reporting it. But yes, there are a lot of. That's why the money is going through investigative techniques and things like that. So it's being reported, and I don't think all cases are completely fully investigated. They're looked into, and right off the bat, they see, oh, that was just that, and it's gone at that point. So, but they will follow through with it if it's.
It's better to be safe than sorry later on.
Yes.
What would you encourage people that are watching this morning to do if they have any inkling of any type of abuse of a child.
If they suspect, I mean, you don't have to actually know because you're going to report it. The investigators or the police department, DHR is going to look into it. But if you suspect a child is being abused, report it. You are protected by law to report those kind of situations, and you don't be afraid to do that. And if you report it, do it honestly. You're not doing it out of spite. You're not trying to hurt anyone. You're doing it because you have observed this abuse against this particular child. Report it to whoever you need to, which is the police or DHR.
Do you have to give your name?
You can stay anonymous if you want to. If you give your name, you need to make a report now of this incident. But you can stay anonymous. If you do a report, you should follow it up with a written one too. So just because you call into the police department or DHR and tell them the situation, you can follow it up with a report if you should do that.
You talked a little bit earlier, and I want you to kind of expand on it a little bit more. If we are concerned about the possibility of a child being abused, what is this person looking for? Before they report a possible situation.
What have they observed?
Yeah.
They have determined themselves that this child has been abused. Maybe the bruises or their habit of being joyful and happy is now gone and things like that. And they started noticing these things. Well, they themselves are determining this child is being abused, so they're going to report it. Like I said, they suspect. It's not definite. They themselves feel that this child is being abused, and then they report it and let it go, and then the HR or the police department, they'll look further into it.
Is there, Ollie, sometimes more than one child in the home being abused?
Oh, yes. If there's 2, 3, sure. I mean, each child can be abused in a different way, matter of fact, but and they won't tell on each other because why? The parents already said, "Don't you tell." I mean, don't you tell little Johnny or whatever. Don't you tell them this situation. And so yes, each child in the home can be abused. So
is there, Ollie, racial lines, black, white, Hispanic? Does it cross all boundaries?
It's going to cross all boundaries. I mean, it makes no difference your color. It can happen to you. So.
Ollie Cates, our guest this morning. Ollie's case manager and the fatherhood program at SAFE. And Ollie, without naming names, and I've asked you this in years past, without naming names, describe a situation that really, even though you try and your professionalism say, hey, I got to keep this balance, describe a situation that really touched your heart. I know there are many of them, but can you just share one this morning?
Well, I mean, one I can really think of is an individual. He was incarcerated, and because child support had not been paid, and so he would call the child and say, "Hey, why don't you tell your mom certain things about this situation, and perhaps I can get out of this child support thing. And so if you don't do certain things, I'll do certain things for you. You know what we used to do. So just do that, and then we can continue. Once I get out or whatever, we can continue doing what we do, enjoying each other's company." So I've heard that. I haven't seen. I heard talk.
Using a child as a pawn, basically.
In a family, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Using against each other?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. They can do that.
Wow.
Well, my part there is try to discourage that, though. When I'm talking to my fathers, I try to discourage, do not demeanor the mother of your children. That's not one of your roles. One of your roles is to support the mother. Even though you're not together, you still should support that mother that brought and gave you that gift.
Do you have fatherhood meetings at SAFE? Or?
Yes, I have classes at SAFE. each week. I try to have it daily, but I don't get the fathers to come each day, but I try to have it each day. And I'm allowed to go into the prisons and talk with my fathers there too.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Ollie Cates, case manager with SAFE. Child Abuse Prevention Month is the month of April, and let's capsule the event taking place on Tuesday.
Tuesday the 10th, 10 o'clock, City Hall, right in front of the flagpole. We're going to present perhaps a half an hour of issues talking about child abuse. We invite each and every one of you, if you have time, to come out, stop by, and show your support by being there and watching the event happen and listen to what's being said about child abuse and helping us prevent child abuse in our area. That's what we're doing here. It's doing nationwide is happening. We are doing it right here in our town. We want to do the same thing of preventing this child abuse.
And if you are watching this morning, as you watch, if you have any thoughts of someone abusing a child, report it immediately, and let the process work to get that child safe and be sound. And let's bring up a childhood in America that will make a difference in years to come. Ollie, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
And we've got more Daybreak coming up.
Thank you.